Welcome back to the Brothers War EDH. My name is Ryan. This is Chris.
That's
Back
good.
back with some
Ah,
back with some well for one some news. Some
hmm.
news, We just got back from March Madness 24.
Yep.
And by the time this was released, you would have already seen our vlog and you would have known that my boy Chris right here, 13th place in
Ah,
his first tournament with a Gruul deck. And that's the
yep.
deck that we're going over today. It's his Jaheira Guild Artisan deck for our Brewers Advantage video. We're also going to be doing his tournament run. We're gonna go through the games. But before we get into any of this, into the fun stuff, I just want to ask you to please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Congratulations on your
That was
on your
thank you.
yep yep
Means a lot.
yes, congratulations. But with that being said, let's get into the deck. So this is the deck. Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, with the background, Guild Artisan. Jaheira is a 3-mana human elf wizard. Tokens you control have tap, add a green, and it has choose a background as a 2/3. Guild Artisan, which was funny because a lot of people had to read what this card did because they probably didn't
Yep.
know what it was. Commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, you create 2 treasure tokens. So, so at first glance, you're like, okay, well, I can attack with Jaheira. The player an opponent that has more life than that player, and you create 2 treasure tokens, and your treasures you can tap for 2 green. So that's at first glance. But Chris, I want you to go through what this deck is designed to do, and we can go over like some key cards and the win cons. What do you got? What do you got for us? The floor is yours.
So first things first. People usually see you here and they're like, "Oh my gosh, creature tokens can tap for a green. You just make your tokens a mana dork, right?" Well, this just says tokens. So artifact tokens, enchantments.
Yep.
They don't have summoning sickness, so they're able to tap immediately. So Guild Artisan can provide the resource generation. So basically you attack with Jaheira, you get 2 Mox Emeralds. And you have to, the thing that's important about Guild Artisan, I don't know why it's worded this way, but basically it's whenever you attack an opponent that is tied for the highest life total or has the highest life total, you get the 2 treasure tokens, right? So basically what we have here in the command zone is mana advantage. This deck can produce an insane amount of burst mana within the first couple turns, which is kind of like what I wanted to kind of take advantage of and exploit.
Yep. Do you think that going into this tournament, before we go into your run, did you feel like this deck was a good pick as like something that was good against the current meta, considering that at the tournament, as what was mentioned in the vlog, like we saw a lot of blue farm, a lot of Kinnan. So there were a lot of players playing the best decks that they could. How do you feel about this deck going into this tournament?
I felt really good about this deck. So this deck is really good into the mid-range meta that we're in right now, because basically people are just trying to wait for their opportunity, get out their card advantage engines, start drawing a lot of cards, and trying to eke through the second win attempt after stopping the first one. So this one kind of like just tries to grind out value, grind out mana underneath all that, and then presents wins very fast. So in order for me to present wins fast, my commander's not a combo outlet, so I have to kind of put extra combos in the deck to kind of make up for that lack in the command zone. Same with card advantage, which we'll go over a little bit later.
Right. Speaking of the combos, do you want to go over just like the common ways one would go about winning in this deck? There's a lot, and there's ones that I saw that I wasn't even thinking of until well, one you actually used, and I thought that people were really caught off guard by it until they're like, oh wow, like he's about to actually do this. So
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to get infinite mana. Obviously, you have your typical Temur Dockside loops. With Jaheira out, you can actually do post-combat wins with Kiki Jiki, Hyrex Tower Scout, and Dualcaster Mage Twin Flame Heat Shimmer. And the way to do that is through the card called Makeshift Munitions. So basically, if it's an enchantment that
real quick. This one right here.
Yeah. It's a 2-cost enchantment. You pay 1, sacrifice an artifact or creature to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. This is an infinite dockside outlet. So basically, even after combat, you can go Hyrex Tower Scout Kiki Jiki if you have it, and you can use those tokens to tap with Jaheira's ability. Since they have haste, you can sacrifice them to ping the table. Same thing with Dualcaster Heat Shimmer. Generally a problem with those cards is that you can't really win post combat, but with that card you can. And it's also really good at controlling the board because cannons. I mean, the best decks are the best decks for a reason. So I want to try to mitigate a little bit of that with the being able to remove creatures since I produce a lot of artifact tokens, anyways.
Right.
You have Twin Shot Sniper, which is another Temur Dockside outlet. You could basically just get infinite mana, then you could start bouncing Twin Shot Sniper to ping the table. That's basically it.
It's like most green decks are probably going to run. Sorry, most red decks are probably going to run like Heat Shimmer, Dualcaster combos, and then you have your like Dockside loops. Kiki Jiki, Hyrex Tower Scout, in these colors also makes a lot of sense. I think the Twin Shot Sniper edition is really good because this card doubles as cheap removal that is very hard to interact with.
Yep.
And an outlet, like you said. The one that he mentioned with Jaheira, and then making using Dualcaster, the Dualcaster line with the makeshift munitions. This card right here, I feel like people were looking at it and like, what is this? Maybe this could be something where it's like, oh yeah, I guess he can like use it to like ping off creatures, but there's so many ways because if you have infinite treasures, you can pretty much you can sack 50,000 treasures and then use the other billion treasures just to ping the table if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. It's a really good way. Like it works with the treasures, it works with the Dualcaster mages, so that one's pretty is definitely pretty sweet. You also got sorry, go ahead. No, I'll just say you also got Dino DNA, which acts as an infinite with Dockside. If people have more than 6 artifacts and enchantments, then you can create infinite Docksides.
6/6 dinosaur Docksides, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Just giant Docksides.
Another thing I wanted to point out is Twin Flame with Dockside and Eternal Witness is also a infinite Dockside and Eternal Witnesses with haste.
That's right. So I've been seeing this one pop up a lot more. Yeah. I almost forgot about the Eternal Witness. Some cards in here when I was looking at your list, because I feel like that like nobody sees this card at all, is Academy of Manufacture. This card I've seen. I think that I saw you play this, at least from the games that I was watching you play. Mm-hmm. I saw you cast this card twice. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that like anyone even thought about it. Like oh, that's cute. He can make just like just like extra emeralds. Tokens. Yeah, right. But I don't think they realized just how many you make and how much mana it actually gets. Because like this one I think snuck under a lot of people's radar, and that's the beauty of having that kind of Brewers Advantage. Because like you see this and you're like, if I'm already making infinite treasures, then what does it matter if I'm making foods and clues? Yep. It's because of freaking Jaheira. Like they all tap for mana. You're making, like Chris said, you're making 3 Mox Emeralds, and you end up sorry 6. Yeah, you make 6 Mox Emeralds off just one attack. Off one attack, and you know, it's just crazy, like how much mana
Yeah.
that can actually make.
Academy Manufactor is the best card in the deck. It's the top priority for tutors. It is a combo outlet as well because you can draw your deck with your Temur Dockside loops. And it's I mean, you know, red green generally lacks card advantage. So especially in my build because I don't have any card advantage in my command zone. So Academy Manufactor is taking advantage of Academy Manufactor and multiple copies of Academy Manufactor is the name of the game for this deck because multiple copies of Academy Manufactor means exponential food clue and treasures that could tap for green. I could draw many cards and then put together a win from there.
Right, right. So some other notable cards in the creatures, like, you know, what's good is that you chose to have cards in here that just make tokens, and you know, a lot of people are like, you know, will be like, okay, well, Gilded Goose makes a food, Magda whenever it taps makes a treasure, which is relevant by itself, and even the second ability, being able to, I'm pretty sure that I've seen you activate Magda a few times to find the cards that you need. But you know, some of these cards that just make tokens like that, you know, obviously you got like Facebreaker here, and you know they're all making Mox Emeralds. Like you don't have to sack them. It's like you're just creating mana that just stays around. Just for
Facebreaker is insane because you can tap this treasure and you can sacrifice it and still have a green and get a card out of it.
Right,
very good.
Right, that is crazy.
Magda activation the same. You can tap the 5 treasures before you sacrifice them to have 5 green mana floating, and then get whatever artifact you want. Gilded Goose.
Yeah. Wild man.
Yeah.
You got a Reunion here, classic.
Yeah.
A classic one that I feel like that more people are coming on in like red decks in general. But moving away from the creatures, I want to see if there's anything else that's like just like different. Oh, you have Delayed Blast Fireball. I don't know if like a lot of people play this card or if it's something that like you're just high on. It looks pretty good. I mean, you also get to foretell it.
So this card, I'm higher than a lot of people on this card. You know, it's not hard to cast. So really easy to cast in this deck, and I generally like board wipes, especially one-sided board wipes. So I like this. I didn't see it at all during the tournament, but I did like it. I do like it quite a bit. It was really good in testing.
It's also good too because it's a freaking instant. Like you don't get cards like this very often. This card right here, Royal Treatment. Did you use this card
amazing.
at all?
I did. I actually got to cast Royal Treatment during the tournament, and people were obviously like, "What in the world is this?" But this card is insane because it's basically a free protection spell. Because and it also gives your commander ward. But the notable thing about this is that you get a Royal Roll token that pumps Jaheira and gives it ward 1. And the Royal Roll token can be tapped for a green mana. So it can blank removal. Yeah, it can blank removal, pump Jaheira to get through more attacks, and then also be able to tap for mana. So it's an insane card in this list.
Gosh, it's crazy when you think about how much stuff you can do. You know, I see that you got you know, obviously you got like the Cloudstone Curio for like Dockside Loops, where I talked about Dino DNA. This is a card right here, Portal to Phyrexia. In this meta with all these like, you know, this mid-range grindy and all these like really good creatures coming out, getting this out and then being able to just reanimate for free is just really good. I'm glad that more people are playing this card. It's just an awesome card. Yeah, you know, obviously you got like, you know, all the other good artifacts in here that you need. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much the deck, and you know where we went over the win cons. One thing I noticed, because we talked about this on the drive back, that you don't run a lot of like early acceleration through the form of mana dorks.
Yeah, and the philosophy there is basically one, Orcish Bowmasters really put a hurting on the green dorks, so I'm basically running the best ones aside from maybe Orcish Lumberjack, which I didn't feel was needed. But like the philosophy here is that you want to get a turn 1 Jaheira, and anything after that, you're just farming your mana dorks with Guild Artisan.
Right. A lot of your interaction in this deck come and not a lot, but there's some key pieces that come in the form of stacks. You got Karn the Great, the Great Creator.
Yep.
And one
Great
that you added. Well, also you have Wandering Archaic, which is not really like stacks more than it's just like
more protection for my combo turns.
Right, exactly. The card that I was gonna mention that you had in here that you didn't before was Trinisphere.
Yeah.
That
was a late add too.
Yeah, it was a late add. I remember us talking about this, and you were wondering if it would be good. And the fact that your deck makes mana so fast, I kind of see this low key in the same realm. Probably not as relevant, but sorry, not as good, but as like Kinnon's synergy with Trinisphere, because you're making all this mana. So, what does it matter if all your spells under 3 cost 3?
Yeah. I think Kinnon takes advantage of it in a different way, because Kinnon just wants to activate Kinnon. This one still wants to cast spells. It's just the majority of my spells cost 3 or more.
Right. But like I'm saying though that like the mana part of it is not really as because you're fine with casting Trinisphere as fast as you can.
Right.
To slow them down. Mm-hmm. You got that. You got like defense grid. So you have ways that, in terms of like protection and interaction that are in the form of these stacks cards rather than it be cards that are just like straight up on the stack. But that's that is your deck. And with that being said, let's go into your tournament run. All right, so your final score before top 16 was 2, 2, and 1.
Yep, 2, 2, and 1. Yep.
So let's just start off from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your first game.
So first game, I was seat 3, which I'd rather be seat 1. I was actually seat 3 for all my games except for 1. Even in the semifinals, so that was kind of feels bad, but still managed to pull out 2, 2, and 1, 2, 3, and 1 overall with the semifinals loss, the top 16 loss. But the first game was seat 1 Krakashima, seat 2 Godo, seat 3 me, and then seat 4 Blue Farm. Again, I'm sticking to the game plan. Jaheira, Guild Artisan just wants to get Jaheira out on turn 1. Guild Artisan turn 2, and just start playing value pieces after value pieces until I can accrue an infinite combo win, a protected infinite combo win, which can generally be on turns 3 or 4. So, my starting hand, I have a Gilded Goose, a Crow Mux, Deflecting SWAT, Crop Rotation, Goblin Engineer, a Cursed Mirror, and then a Verdant Catacomb. So with this hand, I've got, a turn 2 Jaheira. So that's really important. Remember, turn 1, turn 2 Jaheira is the first priority. I've also got Goblin Engineer, which gets Academy Manufactor. Again, that's the biggest boon to this deck is Academy Manufactor. It's basically my Ristic Study in this deck, which also provides me for mana. And so basically, I'm sitting across from 2 blue decks. So I expect them to play responsibly in the tournament and keep responsible hands for early wins. However, the reason why I snap kept my first 7 is because both Krakashima and Godo went down to 4 on their mulligans. So it's less likely that they have, insane starts from the beginning. So I have a little bit of time. So I wasn't looking for that God hand. I was just kind of looking for a turn 1, turn 2 Jaheira and kind of, let the cards handle themselves. And then basically what happened was, I was farming my treasures and basically Krakashima had a Niv Mizzet out, and the beautiful thing about this deck is that you don't have to cast instants or sorcerers to win. You cast it's creature-based strategy, so I was able to get underneath Niv Mizzet from doing a Kiki-Jiki Hyrax Tower Scout combo.
That's the beauty of that, especially going against Niv, is that Those creature based combos are just great. Do you
Mm-hmm.
feel that they were caught off guard by your deck at all?
When I sat down and pulled out Jaheira and Guild Artisan, they're like, "What in the world is this?" But they quickly found out that as soon as I dropped um, I think I dropped a defense grid before I won that game. As soon as I dropped defense grid, they're like, "Oh, we're losing."
Right.
And so basically, after that, I cast Temur Sabertooth, um, and then was able to put together the win from there.
Nice.
The Curse Mirror was actually copying another dockside, the Krakashima's dockside, and then I was able to Temur Sabertooth, bounce my dockside, my Curse Mirror, and then just keep casting the dockside, and then into the Academy menu factor, draw my deck, and then get the Twin Shot Sniper to be able to finish off everybody.
That's the beautiful thing about Curse Mirror is that you get to use other people's docksides.
Insane. Yeah,
and
it's an insane card.
It's funny too because people normally tutor up that card, so it's almost like they're doing the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, but yeah, first game you won. How'd you feel about after your first win?
Man, so we had discussed before that winning the first game is the most important game because it's going to help you in your subsequent games with opponents tiebreakers. So I felt really good after that game. Again, this is my first tournament, so I was like, what? I did not expect to win right off the bat, but Brewers Advantage is a real thing. So I put in the work to test and trim this deck as close as I can get it based off the meta, and I really felt like I played well. Took my opportunity, and it managed to work out for me.
That's awesome. Well, game number 2, I remember this one specifically because you had a moment where you felt like you could take the game, but I believe there was like a missequence, or maybe you didn't, you were not confident in getting the win. Tell us about that.
Game 2 was an insane game. So I was playing against Corvold. I was again seat 3. I had my buddy Will in seat 1 playing Blue Farm. Seat 2 was a Rog Thrasios player, Hullbreaker Horror Polymorph build, and then I was seat 3, and then Corvold seat 4. My first turn was actually a turn 1 Jaheira and Guild Artisan. I had a Jewel Lotus in hand, and I had a Tinderwall with a land. So basically, I dropped land, sacrificed it, got Taiga, cast Tinderwall, cast Jewel Lotus, got Jaheira and Guild Artisan turn 1, which was sweet. And Corvold tried to win turn 2. However, my beautiful blue players, I owe a lot to them because they stopped the win attempt on turn 2, which involved a dockside, right? And this game I had a Dino DNA, so I was able to. And Corvold's known for getting dockside out of the graveyard efficiently. Able to exile the dockside with Dino DNA. Essentially, it gets down to this very, very pivotal turn where I try to go for a win, right? I Dino DNA'd, and the dockside count was high enough for me to go infinite. And so a lot of sequence of events managed to clear the stack with all the interaction. So I thought most of the interaction, and then it was down back to me. Priority was back on me, and I had a Magda and a defense grid in hand with infinite on board. If I played it right. So instead of casting the defense grid, I cast the Magda, and it gets countered, and we lose to the Corvold player on the next turn. So that was a real feels bad. I should have cast the defense grid first to bait out the interaction, and then cast the Magda, but that was on me. I should have been 2-0 there, but I was 1-1.
I hear you. Yeah, definitely a learning experience. I just want to bring up something that you just mentioned when going through this. You said you wanted to thank the blue players. Now you and I talked about this on the way home, but you mentioned that since you're not in blue, you're kind of in a position where you're the pressure is not on you to have interaction to stop wins.
Yeah.
And you found this as an advantage. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So again, if you're not running blue, obviously I would much rather have blue, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
However, not having blue, you don't have the pressure of being able to answer everything, which generally means holding back a lot of interaction for people who are trying to present wins on the stack. So I can rely on other blue players to use their interaction to where and then when it gets back to me, I can go for the win. So that's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And, again, when you're in these tournament settings, people are holding, like, you're essentially never going to win on your first win attempt unless it's like double protected, maybe even triple protected. So after the first win attempt is usually when I try to like find my window to try to win the game. So I never try to be the first one to present a win. I'm always usually the second or third one to try to present a win.
Do you intentionally?
Yes, sandbag it.
Oh, okay. So that's more of like a strategy outside of like the game itself.
But generally, again, like with any amount of blue at the table, especially if you have at least two, the first win attempt, regardless of who's going to try to win, is likely going to be stopped. It's very, very hard to get through the first win attempt without at least some form of protection. So yeah, I can rely on at least the first one to be stifled before I can maybe attempt my win.
Right. Plus, plus two, the fact that you are in Gruul, maybe people are not willing, or they're not really focused on like, oh well, this guy's probably just gonna do some weird Gruul stuff, but there's a blue farm at the table, there's a Kinnan at the table, there's blue at the table, and other sources.
Yeah, another beautiful thing about playing a deck that nobody's ever heard of is that you can get away with a lot of things, and it's not like I'm getting away with it, but it's literally because even if everybody knew everything about my deck, blue farm is still at the top of the level. Kinnan is still at the top of the level. They're still boogeymen of the format, and regardless of how well my deck can perform, those are still going to be targets number one. Even if people knew my deck. So, and the added bonus of not knowing what my deck does, it does help in some cases, but the majority of the time it doesn't matter because people are going to be playing responsibly and trying to deal with the blue farm player or deal with the Kinnan player, Sisay player, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of little nuances that work into my favor that help me raise my win percentage even by 1-2%.
So game number 3. Now this game I watched probably the most out of probably any other game.
Yep.
And it was a pretty funny game. So tell us about your game 3.
So at this point I'm 1-1, and I'm excited about this game. Game 3, I was sitting first player. I was in seat 3 again. Player 1 was playing Blue Farm. Player 2 was playing Inala, so the wizard one. I was playing Jaheira, obviously, and then seat 4 was playing Malcolm. It was 2 blue farms. I start off, my opening hand. I keep my first 7. I've got 2 lands. I've got Gamble. I've got a Dualcaster Mage, a Teamer Sabertooth, a Professional Facebreaker, and then a Turn Timber Symbiosis, right? So, I snap to keep this hand. Turn 1 Gamble into Jeweled Lotus. Beautiful, right? So I go turn 1, Gamble, Jeweled Lotus, discard Jeweled Lotus, immediately side IU because that is not what I want to see. It happens though. And basically, over the course of the turns, luckily there's 2 blue farm players. So seat 4 presents a win and everybody's like kind of freaking out, right? And all the players like, I'm finally able to do something, and Pyroblasts the Thassa's Oracle, which was a pivotal point in the game because at this point, with the Jeweled Lotus gone, I was sitting on a turn 2 Guild Arson, turn 3 Jaheira, so game plan was going slow. However, and then seat 4 drops the Helm of Obedience to try, and with a Bloodchief Ascension to try to, with a Dothy Voidwalker to try to mill us out one by one.
It was a rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah. And then, so everybody's freaking out about that, right? But I've got a Karn in my hand and nobody knows that. So seat 1 blue farm pops his Dauntless Dismantler to destroy the Helm of Obedience. A Nala player doesn't do anything, draw a pass, and then I'm able to get, basically everybody had used their interaction. I had known through, people presenting win attempts and saying, "Oh, I don't have anything for this." I had a high opportunity to be able to put down some at least creatures, because creature combos are really strong right now, because there's not really much interaction aside from mana drain, force of will to kind of interact with that. So I had to take my chances. I didn't feel like I was going to get another turn. Was able to Academy Manufactor into Gilded Goose into a Teamer Sabretooth. So I was able to cast Professional Facebreaker. I was able to get Teamer Sabretooth, Academy Manufactor, Gilded Goose loop going, and then exile my library and win off that, because that's infinite treasures. Let alone they're all tapped, but still, I was able to get burst mana and stuff like that and show and present the win there. So I'm 2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So game number 4, I'm sitting at 2-1, right? Two of my other opponents, which both of them happened to be in the top 4, they were also at 2-1, and then we had a 1-0-2 guy. And so basically, we all presented, "Hey, do you want to draw? You still get a point to draw, right?" However, the player that could not progress basically without a win or a draw, or has a harder chance to win or to get in the top 16 with a draw, decided that he wanted to play it out. So we decided, hey, basically what's going to happen is, if any 3 of us present a win, we're just going to offer a draw, and that way it's a win-win for everybody. And he agreed to it. And so basically, we all played the game just as normal. It wasn't like, we were trying to change our gameplay and like focus down on the guy who is trying to win. We all tried to interact with each other's win attempts, and oddly enough, the guy who needed the win got the win, and so that was unfortunate for us. But I'm glad that we maintained our integrity and that we were able to still play like it was a regular game, even though we all knew what it meant if all of us just decided to try to focus down the 1-0-2 player. So I really liked that pod. That was a really cool group of guys. I actually saw the guy who won in my top 16, the semifinals. So it was just a really, really awesome environment. I just want to take this time to say that store was amazing. The people there were amazing. I had a great time. One of the best experiences in Magic that I've ever had, and I'm being 100% honest. Even if I didn't hit top 16, it was just an amazing time. There was no like salty players, at least from what I experienced. It was just an incredible time. So yeah. That was my game 4. I left 2-2.
Yeah, I want to echo that as well. Great event. And I believe that game nights in Colombia, they've had 3 events like this so far, and they said that they were going to try to have one every other month. So hopefully we can be able to go back there. You might be able to.
Ryan said he'd be down next time.
Yeah, I might enter next time. We'll see. Yep. And moving on to game number 5. This is the one that I was talking about. That was probably the most entertaining, and it's because there was a Zerzoth deck, and I don't know who you are, Zerzoth player, but the things you were doing in that game, and I think that like you were producing. Not, I mean, you were doing things that probably made the other players salty at the table, but I freaking loved it. Like I was like, this guy is just sacking devils, and he had freaking Torbrand out, and he was doing 3 damage, and he was doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and we're talking about how he was getting a lot of like really good card advantage. But yeah, with that being said, tell us about the game 5. It was a really interesting game.
Yeah, game 5, I'm sitting in seat 2, actually. I actually did go in seat 2 here. Seat 1 was Kinnan, which is scary, right? Seat 2, me, Jaheir, Guild Artisan. Seat 3, Zerzoth. And then seat 4, we have Malcolm Tana. Pod build. So basically, I get off the ground fast. I don't remember my opening hand here. I get off the ground fast. Zerzoth has a great opening start. Kinnan and Malcolm Tana mull down to 4. Both of them do. So, anytime you mull down to 4, that's a really, really feel bad. So basically, they're not doing anything for the first part of the game. Kinnan drops a Viridian Revel, which is a card that says whenever an artifact goes into the graveyard, you can draw a card, which is something that I've been interested in playing in Jaheira for a while now. And I think I might consider it a little bit more. It was insane. It's a piece that demands removal, and sometimes even more so than Rhystic Study, which is wild to think about. So basically, Zerzoth player Chaos Warps, or Zerzoth player is going insane with the Devils and disrupting play patterns. And then basically what happens is this game ends up in a draw because Kinnan player on his turn. Oh, this was the wild part of this game. So I've got like 31 treasures, but I'm not going to get another turn because time runs out and we just go to the last turn, right? Kinnan's presenting a win on the stack, right? He casts this is the last turn, right? So he has to win this turn. And I have a twin shot sniper in my hand, which insane card, right? I added that card for Kinnan decks because, that and because it's the removal, almost hard to, it's the outlet potential, and because it's like almost hard, it's nearly impossible to interact with removal. So Kinnan puts up Assault Monolith on the stack and priorities on me, and I channel a twin shot sniper, and he looks at me and he says, I got nothing for it. And then we just all shake hands and we walk away with a draw. Yeah, so twin shot sniper, MVP of that, or else I would have probably not. I might have still hit the top 16 there, but it would have been tough.
Well, that leads us to you getting into top 16.
Top 16, baby.
Yeah, this last game, when I was spectating this game felt like a high stakes, like freaking poker game.
To me, it felt like they've been there before. Because I think that you have to definitely be critical on the priority and stuff like that, because people can talk out of priority, and I think I did it a couple times. I was like, if it gets to me, I'm passing. So basically, the pod composition went like this: Seat 1, Rogsai, absolutely devastating, scary. You don't want to see Rogsai in Seat 1 because that's a very, very explosive deck that can win as early as turn 1, and with the right hand, and especially getting that first seat. Shoot, that's scary. So
it's huge.
Yeah. Seat 2, we had Kinrith, which is the guy that I played in game 4. Seat 3 was me, which I said most of the time I was in Seat 3, and then Seat 4 was Joyra, the new Joyra. So my thought process here, I actually kept a hand with 4 lands, a turn 1 Jaheira. There was a crop rotation that I could get a Inventor's Fair for Academy Manufactor. Hand looks sus, right? Hand looks sus. However, the thought process with this hand is I know Rocksai is going to present a win as early as turn 1 or 2, right? I got 2 other friends with me who are playing blue, and I know that they also recognize Rogsai Seat 1. So basically, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit back. I'm going to farm my treasures, and I'm going to let them do their thing and protect me from winning. It hasn't failed me yet, so I'm going to continue to do it. Right. So we're doing that, right? So Rogsai presents a win on turn 2, and it gets stopped. Turn 1, Necropotence. Turn 2, Sculpted Hand tries to present a win and gets stopped. Wild turn of events, right? So basically, turn 3, another turn cycle goes around. I'm still farming treasures. Turn 4 comes around, right? And I'm sitting there, and I have an interesting set of cards in my hand. I've got a Dockside, I've got an Defense Grid, and I've got a Cursed Mirror in my hand, and an Adventure's Fair, like I mentioned earlier, that I can sacrifice to get an Academy Manufactor. I decide, I did not expect Joyra to win on that turn, but I decide I need to wait at least one more turn, and I think my window of opportunity, my percent to win would be so much higher if I just waited one more turn. I knew Rogsai was out of the game, And then the Jorah player, I expected, in case the Kenrith player decided to try to go for a win, he was going to stop as well. And I also was holding a Tybalt's Trickery in hand, so I was feeling good to pass the turn, and then try to at least stop one kind of win attempt, right? Jorah player manages to win the game with a Memnarch combo, taking all of our permanents the next turn, and it felt bad because he dropped a Chamil, which makes his stuff uncounterable. And so both me and Kenrith are sitting there, and we can't do anything. And even Roxai, I'd leave Roxai out because I know that they didn't really have anything after their win attempt. So basically, it was just between us. And I probably could have, in retrospect, tried to sneak out an indecisive win, but I didn't think it was the right opportunity. So I'm fine with that decision. Maybe I could have gotten it and gotten to the top 4, but who knows? It was a great game.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was
again,
cool
people wondering, right? People wondering why a Jaheira Guild Artisan Gruul deck that nobody's ever seen is in top 16 in an 81-person tournament, and that's what made me happy.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot of visibility. Yeah, that game was just very, 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 very tense. And you talked about how you couldn't have a break in between your games because they didn't want to take the draw, so you were playing like back to back to back. And by that time, I want to say when you started top 16, it was already what, like,
it was like 8:30.
Yeah, it was like very, very late. So you've already been playing for almost like 10 hours at that point.
I think if I would have had a chance for you and me to have dinner or something like that, like away, if I would have had like a draw in either round 4 or 5, I think my headspace would have been in a better spot. But I was definitely kind of draining at that time. I didn't really have much to eat throughout the day, which is on me. But it is what it is.
Yeah, what it is. Well, I mean, it got you 13th place.
Thank you.
So
for more.
Well, that's gonna be it for your tournament recap. 2, 3, and 1. What's your final score? 13th place, 85 points.
Very happy with my performance. I think that the deck is just as good as I thought it was. I thought I was, looking through rose-colored glasses in my testing because I was like, I'm not playing in tournaments and I don't know what to expect there, but my win percent with this deck is like over 50%. So like, I'm like, something's got to be off here. But apparently, I mean, I had a slim chance to get in the top 4, and the deck performed very well. So it might just be a good deck. So
yeah, it might just be in Gruul. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for this tournament recap. But before we end, once again, if you can please like the video, share with your friends. Also, if you went to March Madness 2024, please let us know. We want
comment below if you went to the March Madness. I would love to, stay in touch with you guys because y'all are an awesome group of people.
Yeah, there were some really funny dudes over there.
Man,
just some really funny dudes, really great guys. And yeah, thank you once again to Game Nights in Columbia for hosting that event. We would love to come back. Yeah. With that being said, my name is Ryan. This is Chris with the Brothers War. And that was the first tournament that we went to. Had a great experience. We'll talk to y'all later.